Hello, Senior Stoner fans. The real Senior Stoner back at you for your Barsha Luxo Peak Diamond Dab of the Day. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. As always, since I know you're going to enjoy today's video, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends to do it. Send a like, and I reply to all those comments. Let's get started on today's topic. Well, most of you know that I have had a very successful career in sales. Starting very simply in sales and then becoming a sales executive and then an owner of a selling company. So what was I able to do? What was my job? My job was to convince anyone of anything. So how do you do it? How can you convince anyone of anything? Well, developing powers of persuasion is going to help you get ahead in personal life and business. Whether you want to convince a client to make a purchase or convince your parents to let you stay out late on weekends, learning to construct a solid argument, style that argument, and understand the person you're arguing with can really teach you how to convince anyone of everything. Well, you got to first understand how to make good arguments by defining the terms of the discussion. For certain arguments, you may need to know more than just the facts. Don't waste time arguing whether or not the Eiffel Tower is pretty or whether you're trying to establish that it's iconic. Define your terms. Is it a moral issue? Is it an aesthetic issue? An issue of personal rights or freedoms? You see, you got to develop your reasoning. Making a good argument is like building a table, let's say. You want the main point to be held up by supporting reasoning, like a table is held up by its legs. If you don't have the supporting reasoning and evidence, your table's just a piece of wood. Just as in an essay, you craft a thesis statement. You need to define and articulate the main point you're trying to make and assemble supporting evidence that backs it up. Back up your reasoning with vivid examples and evidence. We need to use memorable and striking details that will illustrate our point for us. If we want to convince someone that the Beatles are the best band ever, well, you know what? It's going to be tough going if you can't remember the name of the album you like the most. Or if you can't listen to any of the music to provide a common reference while you're having the discussion. Do your homework. Make sure you understand your own viewpoint, whether it's a subjective issue or whether it's objective. Find out the facts first, without making any assumptions about the other person's point of view. If you're selling something, well, you're going to need to know about the thing you're selling. Likewise, you're going to need to know about the competition of what others are selling. Giving an inch gives you a mile. Accepting one lesser point from the other person and showing that you can change your mind and that you have mutual agreements in the matter will open up that person to your side of things. So if you're willing to concede on certain points in the discussion to win the overall argument, you're going to have a stronger position. You see, we don't want it to be an argument. We want it to be a discussion. So you've got to style that interaction. Be as confident as you are assertive. You see, we're drawn to confidence. And there's nothing you can do to bolster your point of view more than presenting it with conviction and presumption of proof. No matter what you're trying to prove, if you believe it, you're going to help your cause. Being assertive does not mean being unwavering and aggressive. Let yourself be confident in your side of the argument, but also open to alternatives and compromise. Cast yourself as an expert in the subject by using examples and reasoning to make sense for the other person to believe you. To convince someone that your perspective is valid, you're going to have to first make it seem that you know what you're talking about. So make it personal. While anecdotal evidence can be considered logical fallacy, appealing to someone's sense of empathy by telling a personal anecdote related to the topic can be quite convincing. You've got to know when to insert it. You've got to know when to do it. You see, it's very important during the interactions when you're trying to convince somebody of something, you need to stay calm. Raving like a lunatic's a poor way to convince anyone of anything, especially that your side is the right side. Being confident in the facts that you're presenting, in the evidence you're using to support your claims, and in the perspective you're bringing to the table will make it easy for someone to be convinced to your points. Got to remember to understand your opponent. Understand the person who you're having this discussion with. So you know what? God gave us two of these and one of these for a reason. Shut up and listen. The person who talks the most doesn't necessarily win an argument or a discussion or convince anyone of anything. Learning to listen courteously is the most underutilized way of constructing arguments and winning them. While it may not seem like an active way to be convincing, taking the time to learn someone else's points is going to allow you to convince them of alternatives. You'll learn to recognize the other person's goals, beliefs, and motivations that are guiding their point of view. And you'll engage the person politely by maintaining eye contact, even tone of voice, and calm throughout the whole discussion. Ask questions, practice active listening while the other person's talking, and never interrupt in the middle of a sentence, and always be courteous. You see, it's an establishment of mutual respect. It's critical. You'll never convince anyone of anything at any time if they don't respect you and you don't respect them. So show the respect that you would like them to show you. And through this, you'll be able to identify the other person's objections, motivations, and reasoning. You see, if you know what the other person wants, you're more likely to be able to give it to them. When you have identified the motivations behind their point of view, with rephrasing and spelling it out clearly, you'll be able to gain that person's trust because you've empathized now and you relate to their point of view. This is not about changing their mind. It's about keeping your eye on changing their mind. If you work the person into a corner of logic they can't escape from, you've convinced them of whatever you're trying to convince them. And they'll have accepted that it's okay to agree with you and change their mind. If you're a courteous conversationalist. You see, the key here is to make so you don't look so confident. The humble is what wins. If you keep saying things like maybe, or act nervous or anxious to others, you're not going to seem very convincing at all. To convince someone of something, make sure you believe in it fully and are fully informed of all the aspects of it. 360 degrees and 100%. Don't yell. Don't be loud. Be professional. Don't be childish. If the other person doesn't agree with you, do not argue. Use logic and continue to give vivid examples of why he or she should believe in your opinion. If the other person is biased, finally, you can start asking sensible questions, but still they might not answer your question. So, some people will never change their beliefs, never change their views. That is their right. And they have the right to be wrong. Remember, you could be wrong. I could be wrong. Be open-minded and allow for the possibility, while you're arguing your point, allow for the possibility of the other person's perspective. This has been the Real Senior Stoner with my Barsha Luxo Peak. I'm loving it. For my Diamond Dab of the Day, that's a nice piece, isn't it? And we've been talking today about something very important. How can you get somebody to do just about anything? Well, I hope I was able to shed some light on that topic. This has been the Real Senior Stoner. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's turn on our Barsha. Here we go. That vibration on. It's on 450 degrees. Here we go. double click. Hold on. We might have to adapt ourselves here for a moment because it's telling me that I need to charge it. Remember, I just got it and I forgot to charge it. But you know what we're going to do? I'm sure it's passed through. It is. Here we go. So it is heating with these nice colors. Make sure it's heating up. Here we go. 154. Come on, Barsha. Let's go. Heat up. Come on. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. You know, we don't do anything here that is not live. We do everything live. Okay, we're up to 269, 280. It's going. 293, 305, 320, 340. The front of this thing's not even getting hot to my touch. I'm really liking this device. My fault for not having it charged. Cheers, everybody. Here we go. Dab train's rolling. Oh my. Thanks for joining me and being patient for the pass-through hit on my Barsha Luxo Peak. Put a little extra dab into the air. Cheers, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining the Real Senior Stoner. Remember, you can convince anyone of anything. Cheers.